star so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Oh, well, I should have coughed before I put myself back on camera, but what are you going to do? Welcome back, Daylight Burners. I've been pondering this episode for a while, and then I pondered another episode, and then pondered another topic, and then blah, 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 blah. And long story short, I'm going to do what I normally do and just blather out a bunch of bullshit, and hopefully I'm going to go full Donald Trump and just do the weave. I'm over here. I'm over there. I'm like a ninja. You see me here? No, you see me over here. No, actually, you see me right there. And next thing I know, I'm in your mom's panties, and everybody's happy. And it kind of sort of makes sense when you really think about it. So, I titled this episode Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia feet. Or if you're a Lonesome Dove fan, which I am, and book and the miniseries. Most people are a fan of the miniseries because most people don't read, and the book's pretty long, but if you stick with it, you won't be disappointed. I promise. That's what I tell my wife too. It's kind of long, but if you stick with it, you won't be disappointed. Anyhow, if you're a fan of the miniseries, you'll know it as Uvam feet, Uvam double feet. Hell, Woodrow, it's a motto. It just means itself. But if you're a nerd like myself, and also I married a language teacher, the language that she speaks and teaches is a derivative of the Latin language, which the said motto, which says itself, is written in. So I asked ChatGPT to and I just said, what does Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia feet mean? And it says, all right, so Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia feet is kind of a weird Latin phrase, mostly because it's not actually correct Latin grammar the way it's usually quoted. It became famous mainly because of Lonesome Dove, where Gus McCrae uses it to uses it. Sorry, need to wet my beak. It became mainly famous because of Lonesome Dove, where Gus McCrae uses it on his ranch's sign. Here's a breakdown. Uva equals grape. Uvam equals grape as an accusative form, meaning it's the object of something. Vivendo means or equals by living, or a gerund form. Varia equals changing or varied. Feet equals becomes or happens. So roughly and awkwardly, it's intended to mean a grape changes or becomes different by living with or near another grape. or even more simply, we change by living among others. However, Latin is janky. Scholars point out that vivendo isn't grammatically correct the way it's read or used here. If it were classical Latin, it should probably be something like Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia. A grape becomes different by seeing another grape. Excuse me. But even that's kind of poetic license. Bottom line, it's basically a folksy way of saying we change through life and by the company we keep. And the bad Latin is part of the charm at this point. So all said, I thought that was a pretty good synopsis of that particular motto. And I think, I really think some of the, maybe the brilliance of Larry McMurtry is he understood the intricacies of, you know, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. But the term autistic, like, I don't know what the medical diagnosis or whatever, like the official term of it is, but you know, like it's become a very popular term of late, and a lot more people are identifying with it, and I think maybe that's because the diagnosis has become more like honed in, or it also has kind of just become the popular thing to be. If you're weird, you're just like, oh, I'm autistic. I'm like, yeah, but do you count stuff? Or do you dig, like, do you have like really weird impulses to go down rabbit holes and about stuff that doesn't really matter to anybody? Like, have you started a podcast and kept going for 6 years despite having no real monetary in like economic incentive to do so? I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Like, and then there's like there's like the autistic part that like RFK is talking about, where they're like not functioning as a human as we know. Like they just can't function. They're nonverbal and shit like that. That's the severe, way on the if the spectrum is a tachometer, that baby's pegged out. Yeah, and I'm somewhere like 5,500 RPM probably. Like bottom end of red line, the red zone, probably. Like I'm pretty functional, I promise. And I can prove it because I've been employed at the same spot for 8 years now. So yeah, I'm a functional retard. Anyways, I like to think that Larry McMurtry actually knew Latin well enough to spin that little Latin phrase to, like, I like to think that it's the 4D chess. Like I'm your uncle that just would actually go to bat for Donald Trump, that like would actually take up arms. I like to think I'm that type of guy for Larry McMurtry, because his stuff is really, really incredible. And just like something like that, where Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia. It's not correct, but he also, like, I'm married to a language teacher, and she was taught and then like really learn Spanish in Spain, which is completely different from the feedlot Mexicans that I work with. And I don't say that as a derogatory term. I'm just saying, like, it's like going from, Napoleon Bonaparte to, Pierre Thibodeau XXX in, wherever Louisiana. Like that, they speak French, both of them, kinda, but not really. And Spanish, Mexican, Spanish, and Mexican Spanish is kind of the same thing. And then there's like border feedlot Spanish, which is that's like Appalachian Mexican, if you will. It don't make any sense. It's not the King's English, and it's not proper Spanish. And I like to think this is like feedlot Latin that Larry McMurtry was spitting out. And I think it's fucking brilliant, because you kind of get what they mean. It's like, well, you are who you're with. And I started out this episode, I wanted to make it kind of a fence post politics deal, but then I realized I need a more structured form for fence post politics, which I'm going to make it a thing. I may include Aaron from time to time, but I want to make it more agriculture centric. Because I think while politics is gay and stupid, it's very real. That's the whole thing, and it can be fake and real at the same time. You know what I mean? Like that person that's lying to your face is still right there lying to your face. So he, she, whoever, they, them, zer, zay. I don't know. I think we're kind of past that. We'll see. But regardless, like, you can have somebody fake as hell right in front of your face, but that doesn't mean they're not real. And that's the same way with politics. It's all fake and gay, but that don't mean it ain't real. And they don't mean it ain't really gay. And I kind of wanted to center this topic on California, because it also fits into this whole motto: a grape. What'd they say? A grape changes, or a grape becomes different by living with or near other grapes. So, like, you are the company you keep. Well, I moved out to Nevada. I looked it up on the map. Topaz, California is 16 miles from where I sit. and it's uniquely parallel to how I grew up. I grew up in Colorado. But I was 15 miles from the Kansas border. I was 8 from Oklahoma. So the only thing unique about this situation is I'm uniquely close to California, but no other state. Like, I'm pretty good distance from any other state besides California, but I'm real fucking close there. And I've got some criticism over the years. Now, I haven't got a ton in general, but the most of it has been like I'm not covering Cowboy stuff, and I respect that. I hear that, and I think a lot of that's, I don't know, it's 100% valid. So I'll eat that criticism, and I'll just say, yep, you're right. However, on the other hand, I do think we live in pretty unique times. Politics is really weird, and as we found out over the past 10 years or so, like, it's still very real. But we also found out, like, how fake and gay it is. And one of those reasons, like, I want to highlight California in particular, is because I live really close. there's a lot of people that moved from California to Nevada for a specific reason. Like I moved from Kansas to Nevada, and I had it wasn't because I thought Nevada was going to be a better economic climate for us. So like I saw it, and it's like, oh, the no state tax, that's a pretty big deal. So I won't say it wasn't for economic purpose, but mostly I was trying to find anything better. So like when you're searching for a job, that's strictly for an economic purpose. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. And one of the main one is I looked at Nevada because my wife's from here, and she's very passionate about Nevada. And living here for 8 years, like I've started to refer to Nevada as back home now, and that's kind of how I've put roots in here now. Like I've got my show here. I've had the same job for 8 years now. My kids don't go to the school here in the valley because we homeschool, but they're involved in everything. My wife's a public school teacher in the next town over. Like we got roots over there. And California is right there, and it's bleeding over here. And it goes back to I'm a Colorado native, and I feel it's also like I've always lived in a rural place, and Colorado is I mean it's almost the only thing that California has that we don't is the coastline, or as far as Colorado, like being a Colorado native. I still got the Colorado Boogaloo flag, big igloo flag on my wall. Like I'm a proud Colorado native. I've got over 100 years of roots in Colorado. Like that's where I'm from. That's like one day I'd like to be buried in Colorado. But right now I live in Nevada, and it's right up on Colorado or on California. And I feel like California gets a really bad rap, and deservedly so, but more and more so, Colorado gets a really bad rap, and deservedly so, but it's not the people, like, it's the people that I know and really like in California. That's not them. They don't have a real say in California. The same way like my people in Baca County, Colorado, don't really have a say in Colorado politics. And a lot of that has been driven by migration from California, and people moved out of California for various reasons, but a lot of them are economic. But then they vote in the same policies that drove them out of California and has now made Colorado almost unlivable. California is almost unlivable. And the crazy thing about California, it's like Texas, where it's so fucking huge. I've drove a pretty good ways into California, and I've maybe seen 15% of it. Maybe. Like it's a massive state. It's just like Texas. I know Texas is a little bit bigger, but not by much. But California is the goddamn jewel of the United States. Or at least the little bit that I've seen, and the amount of just sheer economic value that comes out of California is it's mind-boggling. I think they said California was like the 4th biggest economy on Earth. So I mean it's truly incredible. And then the agriculture that comes out of California is incredible. And some of the people that I've honestly, most of the people that I met and I know from California are incredible people. Like So I was talking with TJ Finster the other day, and he mentioned Lane Johnson, who I know pretty well. Like we live here pretty close. He's been in Smith Valley. I think we came to the valley about the same time. Like he's been in and out before, but he's from Bakersfield area, California, and I worked with his brother for a while, and I know his dad a little bit, and they're all just great people. I coach his son in wrestling. I coached him in baseball last year, and yeah, he just good people. And we were kind of just talking about life the other day. His son moved up into the next division of baseball. He's in where they're actually live pitching now, and Gus is still in pitching machine farm league, and we are finishing up practice, and his boy had a game going on, and I was putting away equipment, and hell, half that team I helped coach last year, so I wanted to see how they were doing, and we just got talking about life, and he was telling me about this rodeo. It's the Rowell Ranch Rodeo, and it's in Hayward, California, or Dublin, somewhere in there. But Lane was telling me some of the history behind it, and I was like, that's really freaking cool. And California is pretty unique with the United States. Like California was, I wouldn't say settled, but it was relatively settled. Like the Indian population was basically either working with the Spaniards or subdued to the most part. There was actually something kind of set up in California, whereas everything between Missouri and California was just kind of wide open. You had the Santa Fe Trail and you had the Oregon Trail. But I mean, California was pretty different, and it was a big get. I mean, it's a big reason why we went to war with Mexico back in the day. Because there was another ocean on the other side, and then like the more like what really drove the people, the initial wave to California was the gold rush. But once people got there, they realized like, oh shit, this place is awesome. And there's so much history, and it's kind of like baseball, like where baseball really kind of originated on the East Coast. So that's where you have like the Yankees, the Phillies, the Red Sox. Really, until after World War II, Major League Baseball was east of the Mississippi River. And then with the Dodgers and the Giants moving out to California, that's what spread baseball to the West. Like at least Major League Baseball. Like California had all sorts of leagues all at the time. But it was kind of like the West Coast has always been its own little world, and the mountain states kind of got grouped in there. So the central time zone, kind of between the Rocky Mountains and the Mississippi River, is kind of it's kind of the middle class. Well, honestly, it's kind of like the lower class. You have like the old money East Coast elite types, and then you have the Midwest, and then the West Coast is like kind of like old money, but not really. Like the West Coast is kind of its own thing, and it really makes you notice when you have to try to do like sports is a great example. Like if you're watching baseball, the the East Coast games start for a West Coast time that they start about 1:00. So that's a 4:00 start for the East Coast. So that's an early game, kind of. If you're doing evening games, 4:00's kind of an early game, and well, that's starting like right after lunch for for the West Coast, and football. The early games start at 10:00 here, 10:00 in the morning. So like if you have a hard night of boozing and you haven't checked your fantasy football lineup, there's a good chance you're gonna be fucked until the afternoon games, and hopefully you got a bunch of players in the afternoon games. So it's a big shift, and I don't know, the West Coast is kind of on its own. It's its own territory, and it doesn't get talked about a whole lot. Like there's a lot of I know a lot of really weird niche stuff about the East Coast and like the east of the Mississippi River that's kind of common knowledge. Whereas like researching this meatpacking history, people know about Chicago and like the beef trust, but the West Coast was like the California cattle market was essentially a monopoly. Like where they, the beef trust was, I think it was 5. It was Swift, Armor, Cudahy. I forget the other 2. That's kind of embarrassing. I've been reading up on this stuff for a couple of years now, but California was essentially a unipolar deal. Like it was one company, and they owned everything. I mean, they were essentially vertically integrated. They owned the water. Like they had big feuds over water rights, and I've got that book around here somewhere, but I haven't really got to it yet. I'm getting through this Scotsman guy that wrote for the Scotsman when he toured the U.S. Once I get through that, I'm moving to the West Coast, and I'm going to read this book, and a lot of, I mean, it's just fascinating how much stuff is out here. I bought tickets to the A's game here in towards the end of May. I think it's the 22nd, 23rd, something like that. So if you're happen to be in Sacramento at that time, hit me up, and we'll drink a beer and watch the A's game. But they were running a special. I was wanting to go to Sacramento. And A's is another kind of fascinating story. With that club was founded in like 1903 in Philadelphia. Then they moved to Kansas City, and then they moved to Oakland. And now they're in transition from Oakland to Las Vegas. And in the meantime, they couldn't settle on anything with the Oakland Coliseum in the city of Oakland, and it's on the back burner, but I'm gonna do a deep dive into that, and I'm hopefully by going to a couple of these games and like now becoming an A's fan. They're a really fun team to watch. So, but like going back through the history, like they've always been kind of a ragtag bunch, but they've always, I don't know, they're kind of fun, and then the little bit of time that I spent in Oakland, I really liked it. And I kind of feel like Oakland's got a little bit of a bad name, but it's kind of like California, where like it's got its problems, but boy, it's a fixer upper, and like a big time fixer upper. It's going to take some work, but boy, it's going to be worth it once you get that shit fixed up. And I feel like Oakland's the same way, and that the A's, I don't know. It made sense to me. They're going to be the local team, and there's no conflict with the Rockies. They played each other once. I don't think they play each other again, but they played each other this year, and the A's did their job and beat up on them for 2 games. And all right, Rockies got 1 win, so good. That was a solid series for me as a former, still current Rockies fan, but newly found A's fan. Anyway, off the tangent there, it just I thought that was it was a good comparison about how the West Coast has been brought up, and it just it's kind of forgot about, but it's a critically important part of the United States as we know it now. Like where California not only has like it's the most agriculture state in the United States. There's other states where a bigger percentage of their economy is agriculture, but the amount of output that California has just dwarfs everything else. Not just agriculturally, but economically. And it's such a big state with such a big market that it also affects other states agriculturally. I mean, the way they were implementing and it's not just agriculturally, but it also ties into agriculture with their vehicle policies, where the emissions regulations to become California compliant would put a lot of trucking companies out of business. And I think there was a hold on that. I'm not for sure, but it's still like it was a big enough deal where a lot, like most companies were at least doing some modification, or at least some sort of revamp. I mean, and it goes to show how big of a place California is in particular, and how disconnected but yet interconnected with the entire country it is. I mean, it's completely disconnected from even the mountain states. Like I don't know, it's just always been like I don't know what California is doing over there. And then like you'll hear some stories, and then now that I live up close to it, and I live in Nevada, I'm 16 miles away from the state line. And I'm just like, I don't really know what goes on over the Sierras, like it's a whole different world over there. And it always has been. But the more I learn about it, the more California's got a bad rap, deservedly so, but there's a lot of good people in California. And I feel like, going back to that motto, like the more I'm out here, the more I sympathize with them. And, but also like, it's like, man, if we're leaving it up to California to change itself, it's not going to happen, because the good people are so outnumbered by the people that are in control or that are held in check by the people that are actually in control. The people that are actually in control are idiots or people with interests other than California. Like they got a lot of money tied up in California, but their interest is somewhere else. And then they control the local legislature, the state legislature, which is functionally retarded. And it's pretty apparent by how that state's been run. And they have a good control over most of the population because they just vote Democrat by default. And it feels like there's some sort of a swing in the other direction, but that's a big ship to steer. I mean, like I said, I've spent a little bit of time in California at this point, and I have not seen most of it. Like a vast majority of it I've not seen. And when people ask me about like this town and this town, I'm like, There's not many towns in Colorado that I don't know, at least kind of the general area where they're at. But I could throw a dart at California. Like, or you'd be better off if you ask me directions to California outside of, like Bridgeport and getting on the interstate to San Francisco. Other than that, you'd be better off just throwing a dart at the map and taking your chances, because I don't know. It's such a big state, and you don't realize it until you've been there. It's you kind of know, you got an idea that, like, oh, it's a big state and it's really weird. But once you kind of experience it, like it's so much bigger and weirder than you think. And I was watching before I did this, or started recording here. I was watching a documentary from Keely Cavello. She does a blog. I don't know. She's a film. Her and her sister. I forget her sister's name, but they do some film, and that she does some like articles, journalistic type articles, and I don't know what kind of category to put her in, but I would call her a journalist and like a documentary filmmaker, I guess. But she's a must follow if you're interested in the future of agriculture, I think. And it's American Unwon on Substack is her, where she puts out her stuff. She has a YouTube channel as well, but the Substack is where you can subscribe. I don't know how much of her stuff is free, but I think it's like $5 a month. Well worth it. And she's been doing some pieces about well, there was a guy that got murdered up in Humboldt County, which is on the coast, but it goes from like the coast to the Sierras, up in Northern California. And there was a lot of like hippies that moved out there. It's very remote still. But it was mostly ranching communities, and then the hippies kind of moved in, and then when California legalized weed, because of how they set up the restrictions on it, the cartel moved in and kind of took hold of the legalized weed market, growing on federal land. So that was the documentary that I watched. And then she's also done a lot of good work on the fight to keep some of the reservoirs intact that the environmentalists are trying to get away. And then a ranch family on Point Reyes, which is a peninsula jutting off of California that it's a federal, or I think it's national parks territory, or owned, whatever jurisdiction, whatever that term is. But there was several ranches on there that, anyway, it's a whole big story, and I recommend you go subscribe to her deal. It's American Unwon, UNWON, at Substack, and yeah, you can read all about that. But we're in communication. She'll be on the podcast at some point. But I'd really recommend going and reading some of that stuff, and it's it'll give you an appreciation for the good people of California. And I'm not saying that most of California is bad. Like I said, there's a handful of people that run shit that kind of dictate how everything else goes, and they've got a well-run propaganda machine. that and it's essentially become a single party state. But that doesn't mean there's more registered Republicans in California than there is in any other state, and part of that has to do with the population. But there's a lot of normal people in California, even ones that are registered Democrat. There's a lot of normal people, but it's no argument that the state has become a shit show. It's wild. It's wild how that state has just driven off a cliff. It seems like, and it's a shame. And with the going back to baseball, with the A's being in Sacramento, like I plan on going to several games, and like we got tickets, and and we're gonna stay like a long weekend there in Sacramento, and we're looking up what to do, because one of the games is an afternoon game, and the next day is an evening game. So we got a pretty good stretch of time to do, figure out what's going on in Sacramento. It turns out there's a lot of shit going on in Sacramento, and there's several museums that we want to go look at, and it just seems like there's a lot of cool stuff to do. And you're like, well, okay, I want that to do good, and I want to support that. But I don't want to give more money to just bad management. But at some, like, I don't want to just shut off the state of California because there's stupid people in charge. Like, there's just a lot of good people there. So yeah, like, I'm excited to go see shit in Sacramento, but also, like, I know going over there, like, we're gonna, the gas tank on the old rig is gonna be essentially overflowing before we cross the state line, because as high as gas is here in Nevada, it's gonna be way fucking higher in California. And I got tickets for fairly cheap, and that's a good thing. And we got a month to plan it, but like, food's going to be expensive there too. So like, we're going to have to pack some lunches, or, but also, like, I want to go see what Sacramento has to offer, but like, all right, well, I want to go to Wendy's or something, but like, it might be one step above that. So can we find something local that's pretty cheap? And I hope so. And if we do, I hope it's good. But that's something you just got to figure into when you're going to California, because it's just so much more expensive, and it's really it's super noticeable when you live this close. And I don't go to California a lot, but if it was cheaper, I would. I would. There's a lot to see over there. There's a lot of shit to see, and a lot of ground to cover over there. And yeah, but they've made it so expensive that and they depend on tourism. Well, I wouldn't say depend, but like a big chunk of their economy comes from people coming from out of state to go visit there. And I don't know how that compares to agriculture, but I gotta say they're probably in the same ballpark. So you got two competing interests, which should be in line, but they're not. Like, the Los Angeles area is so far out of step with rural California that I'm night and day difference. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, and I want to support California, but also it's just like I know it's gonna cost a lot to go over there and see some cool shit that they have to offer, and I don't know how you change that. I just like I know some people from California, and the most of the people that I know are of kind of the same political persuasion that I am, roughly, which is polar opposite of the kind of the status quo of California. And I don't know how you change that. It's been a losing battle in Colorado too, and like there has to be some at some point where you're like, those people in the city have to come to some sort of realization that they don't survive without people out that are growing their food. And granted, without the people in the city, the people growing the food would have a lot harder time, but they would survive. Whereas the people in the city, it would go downhill pretty quick, um, and there, I'm sure there's some. I bet New York's just as bad. Vermont, I'm sure Kate Bowen has. Well, I know she has plenty of stories about the urban rural disconnect back east, but like it's pretty big out west, and the tougher part about it is it's a tougher place to live than it is back east, honestly. uh it's a lot of the west is pretty inhospitable, and even California, like where technology's made it where you can just about live anywhere, but you see pretty quickly when shit goes wrong. When you live out in these remote areas, it goes pretty bad pretty quick if you don't have access to the outside world, or you find out that your connection to the outside world is pretty tenuous when shit gets tough. And uh and I think, well, it'll happen. I just don't know how fast it'll happen, but um when you see people that move out to these inhospitable regions that are really incredibly beautiful, like Montana is a good example. Seeing a huge Idaho, same way, Nevada, a huge influx of people moving there because it's beautiful. But they get real upset when the weather gets shitty in the winter, and you're like, okay, well, it's kind of something you signed up for by moving here, and then it seems like they want to, like, oh, it's climate change. Climate change is causing this. Well, no, it's Montana. It's Nevada. It's just kind of how it is here. It's Northern California. Like Tahoe, it's amazing how like it's pretty tough to get to because it's on top of a fucking mountain and a giant alpine lake, and it's beautiful. I think it's probably top 3 most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. But it's really tough to get to, and then when it snows, like there's people that well, like my wife's aunt is was kind of well, still kind of is a ski bum. She's getting old now, so it's harder for her to be a ski bum. But she'd go work for not a whole lot of money up in Tahoe, and get good deals on the skiing because it was that good. But it's a tough place to live. And if you move there strictly for the scenery, like, okay, well, you're going to be in for a rude surprise when when the weather sets in, because it gets pretty rough. because you're living high in the mountains. And I don't know. I feel like at some point there's going to be like another realignment where people who move to, well, like Texas, I think is a good one. Like there's a ton of people moving to Texas, but yeah, once you live there, you're like, oh, it's either ungodly hot or really fucking cold for short snaps of time, and then it gets really fucking hot and humid again. And like another place where it's like it's pretty tough to live there, honestly. And I think you'll see some people move out. But in the meantime, like you kind of got to live with these people. I don't know. So like, how do you cut that balance? And it's something what I'm trying to do here with my shows. Like I know most of my audience is is of the agriculture persuasion, whether it's cowboy or farmer. I like to think way more on the working cowboy side, but I know there's a few farmers that listen to me, and a lot of switch hitters, if you will. But I'd like to see it go out into the broader world and let people get an idea of kind of what it is we do out here. And I think there's something to be had there, where going back to the interview I did with Dominic Pasiga, the history professor. There was a big connection that was, or a big, a huge break in the chain of communication when the Union stockyards shut down in Chicago, because like there was just a huge part of American history where ranchers sent their cattle to Chicago, and they got traded there, and a lot of those guys went on the same train with their cattle to Chicago to make the deals, and then they brought some hired hands with them, and there was a connection between the urban and the rural. And then once those stockyards shut down, I wouldn't say that connection was completely broken, but that was if you say like it's a cable that holds urban and rural together, that was a pretty big coil that got snapped there with that Union stockyards, and just the downturn of the stockyards in general. And I'm not saying economically it wasn't a natural progression, but there was a big link cut between urban and rural. And how we restore that connection is a different thing. And I guess the only thing I have is like, well, there's shit that I want to see in California, and this is still America, and by God, I guess I'll suck it up and save up a few more dollars. And I'm not going to be happy about it, and I'll bitch about it, and I'll bitch to some Californians about how fucking expensive it is to go over there and visit. But it's still America, and it's still some really cool shit that I haven't got to see yet, and now I got a chance to see it with my kids, and that's way more important than the stupid politics and the extra dollars that I have to pay. It's America. It's part of our heritage. It's part of our history, and fuck those hippie assholes that made it so expensive. And I'm gonna bitch about it every step of the way while paying their stupid exorbitant prices and probably playing by their rules. But I'm going to talk shit every bit of the way. I guess it's just how it is. And then maybe if enough people talk shit about in person about how expensive their state is, they'll the locals will get embarrassed enough they'll actually vote for some different people in offense. But I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But in the meantime, I'll just, slave away a little bit more so I can save up to go visit that godforsaken, goddamn beautiful place. It truly the most beautiful place I've ever seen. It's incredible, and I've only seen a fraction of it. But I can't wait to see some more of it. We got some really cool stuff in the making. I recently made a deal with the HeyDay Inn here in Smith Valley, Nevada. It's the official address is in Wellington, but it's an old Basque restaurant just down the road from where I live. Really cool place. One of the lesser known. There's not a ton of Basque restaurants in Nevada, but they're known for it. It's kind of one of those. You don't know about it till you've been here, and then you're like, oh, it's kind of a thing. But the Basque are folks from Spain on the Spanish-French border. Really unique people. They speak a language that is completely unrelated to any other on earth, which is fascinating. But they had their own culture, and there was a lot of them that immigrated over to Nevada in the turn of the 20th century, and then after the Spanish Civil War, or during and after the Spanish Civil War in the 40s and the 50s, or 30s and the 40s, 50s. Then they set up shop here in Nevada. It's really unique history. The first episode that I'm gonna the plan is the first episode I put out there is going to be with the owners and the operators of the HeyDay Inn, with a little backstory and how they came into to owning the HeyDay. But it's on the same scale as like the Star in Elko, the Martin in Winnemucca, Louis Basque Corner in Reno, the JT in Gardnerville, and then the HeyDay here in Smith Valley. It's a really cool place, and we're gonna do some podcasts from there in the future. It's a great backdrop. It's just an old West looking bar, very old, very original, and it's very Nevada too. It's got video poker slots or machines in the bar area, like right at the bar, so you can sit down and get a Coors Banquet or a Pecan Punch and play video poker or video blackjack right there. And that's where we're gonna record them, so it's gonna be really cool. They're gonna be a sponsor of the show, so yeah, Burning Daylight will continue on along, but it'll be brought to you by the HeyDay Inn in Smith Valley, Nevada. Really cool place, really great people. I can't wait to introduce them to you on an upcoming podcast, and I've got a few shows lined up. But if you're in the northern Nevada area, western Nevada, right around Lake Tahoe, and you want to see some cool shit, you want to have some good food, hit me up. We'll meet up. But and if you know somebody that's in the area, that'd be a good episode for the show. Put me in touch. I'm always down, and it'll be good. It'll be a good way to go. Like I've done this stuff for 6 years now, and truly the best shows are in person, or the best interviews. So the more people I can sit down and visit with face to face, the better. Technology is great, but there's something about being in person that just makes it better. And this is a good place to do it. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. We're setting up some cool stuff. I'll have an announcement coming pretty soon about an event we're doing, and it'll be pretty cool. Should be really fun. And anyhow, I'll when I get some more details hammered out, I will let you know, and we'll go from there. But as far as the rest of the show goes, I'm gonna post everything. Every episode I record, I'm gonna post it on the Burning Daylight page, because this is me. The Burning Daylight podcast is that's my baby. It always will be. And so whether it's a Fence Post Politics or Death of Fun or a Burning Daylight Sports show, you can always find it here. And if you don't want to listen to sports, don't listen to it. I don't care. But it'll be labeled. You'll be able to figure out what we're talking about. And if you don't want to listen to it, fine by me. But there might be something else you'll be interested in. I'm gonna. We have the channels for Burning Daylight Sports and Death of Fun. I'll make a new one for Fence Post Politics, and that one I'm gonna do mostly solo, and it'll be more news based, and I'm gonna try to keep it more agriculture based. But going back to the whole motto, it says itself. Like you are like the company you keep. Grapes become like other grapes by living around them, or whatever Abe Lincoln said. It's I'm not a 25-year-old cowboy anymore. I'm pushing 40-year-old cowboy with 2 kids, and I'm looking at not bouncing around. I've been pretty solid for here, but there's always been a chance I could go somewhere else. And the older I get, the less I want to do that. It's just we got it pretty good here. And and my lifestyle's changed quite a little bit. As my kids have got older and they're more involved in sports, I've taken a lot more interest back in sports. So like I've got back to like my college level of interest in baseball. And so accordingly, I'm going to talk about it. And it just so happens that one of my good buddies I went to college with is willing to sit down and talk baseball with me. And a guy that's been listening to now a gal, I guess she's doing whatever they're doing. But been listening to the show since the very beginning, and likes to talk baseball, likes to talk sports. And guess what? I kind of like talking about it. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to put it on this feed. And if you don't like it, don't listen to it. It's fine. But if that's all you're in for, like, well, you don't have to listen to the rest of it. There, you can subscribe to Burning Daylight Sports. Death of Fun. I think my buddies are pretty funny. Like some of the funniest people I know. And when we get together, it's usually really funny. And it's a good way to keep up with my friends from college. And yeah, if you like listen to it, awesome. If you don't listen to it. If it's the only thing you listen to, go subscribe to the Death of Fun. And even if not, it gives me extra downloads if you go subscribe to the Death of Fun or Burning Daylight Sports. Or when I get this new feed up for Fence Post Politics. Same thing. If you like it, if you like the show, go subscribe to that. It gives me extra downloads. But it's all going to be available on the Burning Daylight feed. Always and forever. But I'm really looking forward to doing some in-person interviews at the HeyDay. I'm really grateful for them being on board with all of this, and it's going to happen here pretty quick. I got some equipment on the way, got to upgrade, but it's coming soon, and it's gonna be cool. I'm reaching out to some more people. And I think maybe possibly I can get a really cool one, a repeat customer, if you will, but a fan favorite. And I got to make my pitch, and I think I can get it done. But stick with me, and we're gonna have some cool stuff. And thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Like, holding steady at over 1,000 people. It's fucking wild to me. Crazy. You guys are crazy and too bored with your time, but I appreciate you. I appreciate every one of you. So, anyways, to end, Uva Uvam Vivendo Varia. Feet. I'm a big fan of that quote. I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan of California the more I'm around it. And the more convinced I am that we got to liberate that place. And I think I think a lot of that's going to have to be going to visit and talking shit while you're there. You know, give them your money, but talk shit every step of the way. Let them know that their behavior is unacceptable and only here because God blessed them with the best real estate that he's ever made, as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you probably on next one will be on Tuesday for sports. So on that note, move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Your eyes up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horses kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Just together, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right.